All right, everybody, welcome back to the Centrella show. Holy crap, I am so freaking excited for today's interview. I have been waiting for this since I found this woman's video that was literally plastered all over Instagram. It went absolutely viral. The meaning of viral is what happened to this video. And when I watched it, I was blown away. Immediately reached out and I was like, I've got to have this woman on my show. So everybody, please welcome to the show, Andrea Rendl. She is the woman behind the Pizza Universe video. I'm going to link it here so y'all can see it if by chance you haven't seen it already. But holy shit. Welcome to the show. And then let's talk about the video to start off with. Welcome in.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and are you in Germany? Or
I'm in Austria, in
in
Vienna,
Austria.
actually.
Okay, amazing. All
Yeah.
right. So we are having an international chat today, which I absolutely love. So talk to me about this video. It came across my feed like it did probably everyone who's into mindset, manifestation, any of those things. And I think what struck me about it was the first time I saw these concepts demonstrated in an incredibly simple way. And that has been my goal and my mission for 15 years. And you just freaking nailed it. So describe the video to us and like where the idea come from and what happened.
Yeah, thanks. So the video is all about me, a character. I'm playing all characters in my videos, but I'm playing someone who wants to order, who sits in their restaurant and they're just looking at their menu and all they see in their menu is fries. And the universe comes and asks, what do you want?
Mm,
And the person says, yeah, well, there are only fries, so I'm just going to take the usual. And it develops in that the person understands that they can actually order anything they want. And they start this conversation with the person on the next table who explains to them how they can actually manifest the food that they actually
yeah.
want. And the whole idea is to showcase how you really get what you want, how you can order from the universe.
Oh my God, it's so brilliant. I think um, way back when I saw The Secret when it came out, 2007 or 8 or whatever, and I remember that concept being mentioned, and it did not make sense to me. Like the way it was talked about or whatever, I was like, yo, if it was that easy, I would be living a completely different life. Like it just did not track the way it was kind of talked about. And so I kind of set out on this quest to be like, how does manifesting really work in a practical way? So, what got you into manifesting? Like, what got you to kind of understand these concepts of what I ask for, I can get, and that the universe is limited? How did you come upon all of this?
Well, I think it started gradually. So I first had my first touchdown with spirituality in my first ayahuasca ceremony.
Mm,
So with plant medicine, which I took back then because I was in this very, very difficult place and just didn't know what else to do. And then I started to consume more and more content on social media on spirituality, especially Bashar. And I guess with time and time, it felt a bit like, it's a big puzzle piece.
yeah.
And I got more and more pieces together, and it really started to make sense. And because my background is in computer science, so in applied mathematics,
Mhm.
I have a very abstract mind. And in mathematics, the beauty is that it represents, it can represent anything. It's like a very, very high meta level. So for me, if I understand a concept like
Yeah.
manifestation, my mathematical mind understands it and it can easily translate it to any other context, I
Yeah.
would say.
Oh my God, I love that so much because manifestation the last 20 years, I would say, just ballpark, has been completely on the woo-woo side. I've been working very hard to change it in my little corner of the world because for me, manifestation is very logical. It is very A plus B equals C. I am not good at math. I don't understand math that well, but I do understand equations and I understand process. And to me, that's what manifestation has always been. But before, it always had a reputation of being like super, super woo-woo, new agey, like just vibey, whatever. So I love that your probably like very rational mind, I would guess, was able to be like, hey, there's a rational component to this. Like, talk to me a little bit about that because I would think in, the environment that has been manifestation for the last 20 years, that rational mind would want to throw it out. Like, how did it start clicking for you where you were able to be like, oh, no, this is a formula. This makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And I totally hear you when you say it comes from the woo-woo direction. I was actually terrified when I realized I'm interested in spirituality, like, oh my God, who am I becoming?
Right. Like,
So
it might
I think
be.
I was actually first, yeah, I was first really resisting to look into spirituality. And I think what happened really is that I tried to solve my problems with the mind. So
Mm,
I'm an expert in mathematical decision making, taking optimal decisions. And in
yeah.
a way, this is a bit like manifestation, right? We want to have an optimal life. We want to take optimal decisions.
Right.
And I tried to use all the mechanics, the mechanisms I understand about mathematics into my everyday life. And I realized it's not working. And when I then started to go into the realm of spirituality, it felt like two places, two pieces again of puzzles came together, and I suddenly was able to connect them.
Mm,
And it's maybe a
yeah.
bit difficult to explain this without using any mathematical terms.
Yeah.
But for me, it made a lot of sense how limiting beliefs are really literally restricting and reducing our space of probability, our
Yeah.
space of agency.
Right.
And as soon as we enter an area that is limited or restricted by what we believe, then we're going to feel fear. And
Yeah.
this is what many of us are being held back by moving forward. But if you understand that the fear is actually just a sign that you have a limiting belief, and how if you insist on what you want and if you stay in a positive state, then
Yeah.
how you can get there. If you understand it, if you understand these mechanisms, I started to see that there are many parallels to mathematics,
Yeah.
to the mechanisms I learned from decision making, mathematical decision making. And this then helped me. This is
Uh,
very abstract.
I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. What was the first kind of manifestation that you can remember where you were like, wait, this is the end of the arc. Like something happened here, I followed this processy and I got this outcome. Has there been one that comes to mind?
Well, I think there have been several ones that come to mind now. I wonder which is the most fitting.
Yeah.
I think it was when I, for the first time, felt a sense of peace about a certain
Mm,
situation that I was struggling with. And then when I understood that I had let go that situation, I suddenly got the things that I actually wanted. But
yeah.
now that you ask me on the spot, it's difficult to think of the very first one. And I'm
Yeah.
not I wouldn't say that I'm someone who, sits down and writes down what do I want to
Right.
manifest. It's I'm not that structured
Yeah.
in practice. And I'm sure some people are doing that and that's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I would say having millions and millions of views on a video in a world where an algorithm tries to make that not happen for the most part is a pretty massive manifestation. So what was it like to have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this was one of the first kind of videos that you were really doing this full time. Like tell me a little bit about where um how I guess how long you had been creating content in this way and how this viral kind of moment happened and then what the impact has been for you.
I'm sure. I've only just started 1.5 years ago, and
Wow.
I started with no background knowledge. I really just researched what are good cameras, what is a good system, what
Yeah.
are nice lighting, etc. And I got some ideas, and first I thought I'm just going to create some videos to promote my breathwork business because back then I was doing a training in breathwork, but I decided that I just want to follow my intuition, and my intuition said, make some comedy videos and show your inner work, your
Yeah.
inner journey. And I started doing that and got some practice with it. And I think after 4 months, I had maybe 100 followers or something like this.
Yeah.
And I also had this idea to do something more spiritual, which I was really scared about, to show myself as someone spiritual,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I used to be, or I guess maybe I partially still am, part of an academic community. I
Right,
was,
right.
respected as an AI expert, and then I start to post about the universe. But I had this really funny idea about a universe real. And after a week of going through a really, really difficult release where I was releasing a lot of inner fear, I finally made that video, and that video went viral. This is my very first universe video. This was about a year
Wow.
ago that this happened. And all of a sudden, I had 10,000 followers.
That's
And then it
amazing.
started to grow and to grow and to grow. And now I have, over all of my channels, I think I have over
Which
900,000
is
followers, which
insane.
is
In a year and a half.
completely
That's
insane.
amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. So, a couple things about that that I really love. Number one, that your intuition was calling you and you knew it. It was doing the tap, like, hello, hello, hello. I have the idea that you're waiting for. But then we have limiting beliefs. I've never met someone who doesn't. I definitely have. And those come up and they try to have this conversation with us in our head of like all the reasons why that doesn't make sense. And a lot of times you're thinking, well, that's rational. Yeah, you're right. I should get a little bit more maybe experience or whatever the case is, right? Whatever that inner voice is saying. But then to work through the fear and do the thing anyway, I think that is a very critical element that most people will pause at that spot and not move through it. So talk to me a little bit about like what that was like. Like, is that something that you've always done in your past before even all of this? Do you feel like when you were pushing yourself, maybe, you got your doctorate and so I'm sure there was levels of your career that you felt kind of out of that comfort zone too in your past. Is that something that you always do? Is, hey, I have an idea, I push through no matter what, or was this kind of unique, this new fear that kind of popped in?
Well, I guess both is true in a way. So I think I've always been someone who has been pushing through, but maybe in the wrong situations,
Mm,
pushing through something that actually doesn't align with me, but I think I need to just to function. But
right.
in this case, it was a different kind of pushing through because, as you said, it's extremely scary to do something that's out of your comfort zone. And if you start sharing on social media where you want to be authentic, it's very scary. And I knew that. That was the great thing. I knew that if I'm scared, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to do it. That video, that idea that went viral it had sat on my bench for 2 months. I didn't dare to
Wow.
do it.
Yeah.
And then finally I did it, but I think it's not that I did it too late. I think I just had to become the person who was then ready to do it. And I think this is a lot about what manifestation is about.
Yeah.
Already embodying the person that you want to become, who has the manifestation that you're
Yeah.
wishing for.
And I think that's so true because the universe knows that, right? It knows what the outcome of the video is going to be probably before when it was giving you the idea. And so it knows that you have to be in a place where you're okay with that. And that's probably a really scary, emotional, personal thing to go from just building a platform, having 100 followers to pretty much overnight having a full-blown audience. That's out of a lot of people's comfort zone. It's very visible. It opens up a whole lot of, you know, every feeling under the sun, probably in every block under the sun, I can imagine, comes up. And then you're thinking like, oh my God, what next? Like now do I have to maybe make another one that's the same? I don't know. Like what did come up for you that you noticed that was like, oh shit, like maybe maybe this is a lot.
Absolutely, I fully agree. Yes, as soon as your audience grows and you know that, it amplifies all of your insecurities, all of your fears.
Yeah.
And I had loads of them, especially, I mean, I didn't expect that video to go viral. This was
Yeah.
the video I was really scared to do in a way, and then it goes viral. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
it was wonderful, but I didn't expect to go viral with the video where I'm playing the
Right.
universe with a red chef's hat. It doesn't make any sense.
Which is why it's just so good.
Yes, and then of course I could feel that there were parts in me that thought, okay, those universe videos are so successful, so you should
Mhm.
only do universe videos.
Boom.
And
Yes.
of course that's not it. I could still, I follow my intuition, and then
Good.
I always get the idea for what is going to be the next reel. And sometimes I think like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. It doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. It should be a different order. And I'm happy I still followed through with it because
Yeah.
I think 1 month later I made another video that was not about the universe, that was about a bake sale where I'm selling a cake. And this
Yeah.
was my next super viral video. That was even more viral than the first one. And if
Wow. The
I had
universe was
sticked only
reinforcing. Yeah.
yeah, if I had sticked only with the universe videos, I would have not made this other video. And I also felt extremely self-conscious about that video, that this bake
Yeah.
sale video. I thought like, oh my God, nobody's gonna understand it. It's too, on one hand, it's too simple, it's too
Yeah.
stupid. But this is again a sign. I
Mhm.
learned that now. The more scared I am to post a
Yes.
reel, the more it's gonna resonate with people.
Yeah, it's so true. And I love that you're still following your intuition in the content that you create. And that for me has been one of the hardest things as Instagram has changed. I mean, I started out on Instagram in like 2011 when it first came out, when it was just a photography
Wow.
app. And so it has changed so much. And in a lot of ways, it's been hard for me to change with it because it was something totally, different back then. But then now I see so many creators literally just making the same video over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'm like, how many times have I seen this exact script, exact hook? Like, so if I follow you, is that all I'm ever going to get? And I've just never been able to be that person. I just couldn't do it. It never resonated with me. It didn't feel right. But then you hear those other kind of voices out there. Well, if you don't do it, you're not going to be whatever. You're not going to be successful. And so I love that you are continuing to be authentic and continuing to bring us what you're feeling in the moment or what you just learned in the moment or what that bright idea was that came because that is, I mean, that's everything. That is what people want, especially in this day and age of, people using AI scripts to do all of their stuff. And it is just kind of copy and paste. So I just love that. Now, we were talking a little bit before we started recording. Your background is in corporate. You had the rational, doctorate in mathematics. What has it been like to become an entrepreneur, and when did that start for you? Was that kind of around the same time? Was it before then? What has that journey been like?
Well, luckily, the transition has been gradual because I would have never dared to become self-employed just after
Yeah.
quitting corporate. Never.
Yeah.
So it's been a real ride. So I've heard people say that entrepreneurship is inner work on steroids, and this is exactly what it's been for me. But I also love it because it's forcing me to become my own leader, to take responsibility. And it shows me all the places where I'm still playing small, where I'm still avoiding things, where I'm still punishing myself and making life hard for myself. And it's it's incredible how, when I was still employed, I would wish for a life where I can just decide on my own, where I can do something meaningful
Yeah.
and where I can I can just enjoy myself. And now I have all that. And it's really been it took some work and it still takes work to actually embody that, to allow
Right.
myself to rest, to allow myself to celebrate my successes,
Yeah.
to allow myself to just do things at my own pace
Hmm.
and not needing other people's permission or validation to move forward, to trust myself, to trust my own judgment, trust what I create. And of course, this has been a gradual experience, and I'm getting stronger and stronger with that, and it's empowering, but it's very challenging.
A
I have
lot.
more and more respect for people who are going on this route, but I think ultimately
Yeah.
um, you're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I absolutely think so too. And I think whenever you're following your passion and you're as lit up about it as you and I both are, my journey has been 10 years as an entrepreneur. And there has been probably at least half of that that I was like, what am I doing? I would love to have a corporate salary right now. Like it was, there were so many times where it was a million times harder than I ever expected. But then there was also so many times where it was like so easy and just amazing opportunities came and you know, I would never trade it for anything under the sun. But I think when you start out and you're following your passion, that is what always has kept me going. It's like I know that there is an other side to the learning curve, and that all of the work and all the foundation and all the things that you do comes back to you. I mean, that's absolutely everything that I believe is like what you put it out returns. And so you mentioned a little while ago something that I think is so key and something that I learned later in my own manifesting journey, limiting beliefs. So talk to us about limiting beliefs because they are such a real thing. I think my first level of manifesting just kind of came like that because it was such a dramatic change from everything I'd ever done in my life before. So whenever you make a change, you get a result, as long as you stick to it. But then it was like the next couple levels when I was really, really up leveling, I guess, in my journey, doing deeper inner work where I knew that I had some subconscious beliefs that were going to absolutely like put a dam on everything until I worked them through or released them. So, what are some common limiting beliefs that you see a lot? And then how do we release them?
Oh, this is such a great question. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I think you summed it up really beautiful about the limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
Well, I think there's so many limiting beliefs that we carry within ourselves and we're not even aware of them.
yeah,
This is the
that's the hardest
difficult thing
part.
about it, right? Yeah, we don't have an Excel sheet of all of our limiting
Right.
beliefs. That would make it much easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of
But
times consciously we think the opposite. We're like maybe
yeah,
telling ourselves or logically, if you ask someone a question, they would be like, they would tell you the opposite, but then way deep down, there's this conflict of what I think versus what I believe. It can be
exactly.
really frustrating at the beginning of that journey.
Totally. It still is frustrating when you're further in the journey, from my
True
experience.
story.
But still, we're being kinder with ourselves the more we walk forward on this path.
Right.
But yeah, I think the first really important thing is to understand what limiting beliefs we actually carry and how they show themselves. And from my experience, they show themselves in our behaviors, in what we allow ourselves to do and what we don't allow ourselves to do. And often, we don't even know what we're doing. Like
Yeah.
for many years, I was just living in autopilot mode. I didn't even notice all of the things I'm doing, all the thoughts I'm thinking. I thought this is just who I am and not something that I can actually curate,
Yep.
that I can curate my thoughts. I can reflect upon and change my behaviors. And not just by doing some, cognitive behavior therapy, but really going deeper.
Yep.
And what I found really important is to work with the body and with the nervous system.
Mm.
Because in the past, I thought changing a limiting beliefs just means switching a lever in
Yeah.
your
Feeling, no,
in
I don't
your
need that anymore. Okay,
brain.
bye.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't believe that anymore, and that's it.
Right. Good
But this
luck.
is not how it works.
No.
Yeah, because all of your beliefs, they are really imprinted in our bodies. They're in the pathways of our brain, but also in our nervous system, and
Yes.
probably on levels that we don't yet fully understand. And
Yes.
so, if we try to work on our limiting beliefs without working with our bodies, with our emotions, what am I actually feeling? Allowing the emotions, and then reflecting on our behaviors and becoming the witnessing presence, the witness,
Yeah.
the observer of our thoughts. I
Right.
think without that, we cannot move forward. And for me, the very first important step for this was to engage with meditation.
Hmm.
And at first, I was really terrible at meditation. I really had such a resistance against it. And I just did it for 3 minutes per day on with one of those apps.
Yeah.
And this was great to get started with. But I think getting an awareness of our thoughts
Yep.
And working with our emotions and our bodies, I think this is probably a good way to get started.
Yeah.
And of course, working with tools that already exist that have helped me a lot, which are things like breath work, sound therapy, plant medicine, etc. But I think
Yeah.
this depends on the individual what resonates the most.
Yeah, I love both of those things that you said. You have to know what thoughts need changing, first of all. I mean, you have to kind of understand how you pay attention, and that honestly was the hardest part for me way back when I very first started, because just even the concept my brain wanted to throw out. I was like, I got 90 million things going on. I have a to-do list, I have to pick up the kids. I had a fight with my ex, like whatever, how do I do anything about that? And one of the tools that I teach my clients is it's called snapping in. And I have them for about a week just set their phone or their watch to the breathe setting so it like will buzz. And just the second that it does that, just ask yourself, hey, what was I thinking about the last 5 minutes? Just so you can just
Love
get
that.
like little pieces of it, right? And then you could voice memo yourself, I was thinking about whatever. And then if you do that for a week, then you kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what like the top level, the to-do list, pick up the kid, whatever. And then you'll start to see kind of the deeper ones that, oh, that was showing up multiple times this week. I didn't realize I was that worried about the bill coming in or whatever. And so that process is helpful to just try and figure out, hey, what's going on up here, first of all, and then I can put some tools in place. But I love the other thing that you said, which is the nervous system and your body. And that I think I just went through an entire year of the universe thrashing the shit out of me for that exact lesson. Because I had done all the other work, but I hadn't put together the body. I really hadn't. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought I had, I did my yoga, I did my meditation, I did all of the things, but I knew something was holding me back. And I also operated on a level of panic 24/7, very like high flight or fight, whatever. And then over the last year, I went through a bunch of tragedy at this within about a month, and then did a solo trip in Europe. And I had this moment where I was in the hammam bath and I was there grieving, broken heart, like the whole thing. And it was like this woman taking care of me in the hammam bath where, she's washing my hair. And I just let go of like a lifetime of emotion. And I think that was my first moment of understanding my body was carrying all of that, for a lifetime, all the way back to, childhood, whatever. But
Yeah.
I wish I knew that before. I wish I had this conversation like 10 years ago, like our journey is what it's supposed to be. I know that, but I think you've really nailed it, and anyone listening who feels like there's something I don't quite know what it is, because a lot of times, like you said, we don't know what it is until we do some really deep inner work. And even then, just pieces of it can come out here and there, I think when we're ready to receive them. Um, but our body's always talking to us. So the body's like the visible piece of it, I think. So maybe just paying attention to like what is causing whatever your symptoms are. I would definitely get like a very constricted throat. That was always a big thing for me, or stomach aches, or, so there's all these ways since I was a little girl that my body was trying to process or talk to me about that. So is there anything that you've done that is like body mind work that has kind of helped you and you think works pretty well to either notice when your body's talking to you, and then what do you do about it when it does?
Well, I would say that there are some tools that really help me to release very big pockets of emotions and when I'm going through something very difficult, which is through breath work, holotropic types of breath work, where you really go very deep.
Mhm.
I also do some kind of practices every day that are a mix of meditation, yoga, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's that also really helps me to refocus my mind. Um, what usually helps me is when I finally get into a state of surrender, because often happens to me is that I just identify with all the stories that are coming up, like, you need to do this, you're not fast enough.
Yeah.
And as an example, just recently, I really understood that a lot of those stories in my head are not true. And it was those were stories about having to chase things, that I
Oh,
need to
yeah.
chase what I'm wishing for. And this
Yeah.
is on so many levels, you know. I
Yeah.
need to
It gets
um,
embedded. You don't even notice that you're doing it in this area. You might notice
exactly.
it in this area, but you're like, I don't notice it in these seven other areas.
Yes. And at the same time, I was so feeling so exhausted, physically and mentally exhausted. And once I got to this point where I just said, no, I'm no longer chasing. I'm stopping all of the chasing now. I'm deciding to do this. And I'm not engaging with all of those thoughts that are coming up, like, you need to do this, you need to reach out to that person. No,
Yeah.
stop. And then all of a sudden, I felt like so many parts in my body that were running for years, for decades, probably finally stopped. And all of a sudden, there was such a peace in my body. And it felt like for the first time in ages, I could really rest. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can prescribe something on how to get there, but maybe it's sometimes it's enough to just choose to not identify with all the things that are coming up and just surrender and say, no, I just trust that everything is fine.
Yeah.
I just have to exist, and that's good enough to get everything I want because
Yeah.
ultimately that's true.
It really is. And I think this last year taught me that in very physical ways. That first kind of wave was all physical. And on that trip, I did a solo trip for 2 months, and there was almost every day there was something that happened. I mean, our villa got broken into, and that was really terrifying. I was staying in a hostel one night, and in the middle of the night, a man was pulling me off my bed. So there was like all these things where my
Wow.
body was like, whatever the lessons were, they were like, here's the lesson. And I went on the trip knowing and being open to whatever was going to happen. I knew it's what I needed. I was like, I know this is cracking me open, like whether it's fear that I'm holding on to 24/7. And now this moment gives me actual fear. And now I know how to let it go after the thing happened. That was new too, because I was usually just carrying it all the time. But then one of the things that I did, because I love how you described the peace, I think I'd always worked so hard to get to the peace, but still in panic mode and still at like mass energy, mass hustle, mass work. And then the last probably 6 months was when I was like, I'm just going to focus on seeing if I can get my nervous system to rest. That was really kind of the only, because I was like, I've tried full blown surrender and I'm still fighting it. So, what's another way about this, if you will? And every day I did the meditations and did kind of my manifesting routine and wrote and journaled and all those things. And then just every time a panic triggering thought that would normally kind of get my heart racing and whatever came, I would just calmly take those breaths and re-say those mottos and mantras like I am safe, I'm cared for, whatever. And I probably just noticed it only a couple months ago where I was like, this is the calmest I've ever felt. Like I don't think I've had that racing feeling for probably 3 solid months, which first time in my entire life that that's been true. So I think you're right. It's like if we can notice and kind of pay attention when our body is telling us these things, then play with a couple different modalities maybe to find one that works for you to see if as a first step maybe you can just get in the practice of this is how I calm or this is how I feel safe and unsafe, something that I would
Yeah.
normally feel unsafe in. Yeah, is there anything in there that like you've you've been practicing teaching? I know your videos teach a lot of these concepts. Is there a better way to put it than that, I guess?
Well, first of all, I just want to say big kudos to you for doing all that, what you just
Thank you.
described. I mean,
A lot.
I know how hard it is, and I think this is maybe something to be aware of. It's not the easy path, or it's not the comfortable path in some
Yeah.
way when you are in this place, when you are completely dysregulated, in panic mode. The
Mhm.
easiest thing is to distract yourself or to numb yourself with something or just fall into one of your old patterns.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult to then say, okay, no, I know everything is okay. I'm
Yeah.
just going to take some deep breaths now and trust that everything is perfect. And this is what it sounds like you've been
Yeah.
doing. And this,
Absolutely. Like changing the story in the moment. Just being like,
yes,
nope, I'm fine. Everything's going to work out fine. It's okay that this thing just happened and it feels like it
yeah.
keeps going the wrong direction, but that's okay. It's gonna, yeah.
But it feels like this is not the right thing to do. This is the unsafest thing to do.
Right.
That's how it feels to your body. But trusting that you are in charge, that
Yeah.
you can direct your vessel into peace, and that peace is a choice. It's not something you find, but it's something you choose in a way.
Yeah.
And train your nervous system to embody it. And
Yes.
if it feels hard, and if you also don't know, even notice that you're in this state, then I think be very kind with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I had, like I said, about 3 months ago where I felt a shift, maybe even less, maybe like 2 months ago, where I felt a lightness. I felt definitely felt a shift. I was like, oh my God, is this what actual release feels like? And a big piece for me was I was writing my memoir, and I wrote a 510-page memoir in 40 days. So that
Wow.
was kind of the expulsion of all of it. I had to relive like everything, and the healing release that came after that was insane. My body literally collapsed on the last sentence. That it was a total I don't control, and it was really crazy. But I think since then, continuing the practices that got me here, continuing the meditation, I do daily walks, and on the walks, I will listen to a guided meditation sometimes. Sometimes I'll just allow my brain to think with nothing, and learning how to um, calm in those moments has genuinely, not only has it made me feel the way I'd always been trying so hard to feel, but to your point earlier, also the biggest wins I've ever had came literally about a week later. The wins that I've been working towards for 10 years. So it works.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, even if in the moment it doesn't necessarily feel like it. So what is some of your dreams right now? What are you building with all of this, and what are you creating right now that you're excited about?
Well, I'm super excited about the ideas that I have to create. And so I'm I'm currently creating some online programs to
I
help
love that.
people shift. So right now I'm building a course
Yeah.
that helps you to forgive yourself. It's all about self-forgiveness. And it's really beautiful, and it's beautiful because it also confronted me with where I'm still not forgiving myself. So I've
Yeah.
learned a lot in the process, and I hope I can launch it soon in the next upcoming weeks. I
Yeah.
think that self-forgiveness is such an important part of self-love and also of
Yeah.
moving forward, because it keeps us entangled with the past, entangled
Mm.
often with things that are not even necessary to be entangled with. And I also have some plans for other bigger courses based on the things that I've experienced. So I have experienced different kinds of trauma, and I've managed to overcome it and be really at peace with it. And I want to share that.
Yeah.
And also I'm in the way of building a online YouTube series where I want to explain spirituality and spiritual concepts more on this mathematical layer.
Ooh,
So
I love
express,
that because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
speaking to all the listeners out there that have the logical mindset that kind of feel like I can't manifest, or I do future boards, and that's kind of been my thing for the last 15, well, God, almost 18 years now at this point. But it's always whenever I teach corporate rooms, it's always the super logical ones who at first are like, and then all I have to do is break it down in common sense, logical things that every human has done at some point in time. If you went off to college, you had a thought that was like, hey, I want to maybe go to this college. And then you looked up the college and you got a visual about what the campus looks like. And maybe you did or didn't put it on your wall, but still it was like in your mind. And then you figured out, all right, what do I need to do to get into the school? So I was like, everything that I teach is all stuff you've done before, but most people don't know how to rinse and repeat it, you know? They know how to do it for one or two big moments in their life. But when you realize, hey, I could do this for literally anything I want, I can get better and better and better at this formula, just like anything else. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could live whatever type of life I wanted to live, which is pretty exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely, exactly. And I think this is knowledge that needs to be spread. And I love that there's so many people now talking about spirituality in their own ways. And
Yeah.
I think in a way we're all teachers, right? We all have a certain audience that is waiting for us to show up and share what we have to share in the way we're sharing. And it's not about convincing people of something, but just to share, and they can take
Yeah.
what resonates. And
Absolutely.
since I have this mathematical mind and um, like to work with visualizations and the
Yeah.
whiteboard, I just want to bring that on the whiteboard and share all the things that I have learned. And as you said, a lot of spiritual teachers,
Yeah.
I don't even I sometimes don't even understand what they're saying
Oh, I
straight
didn't at
away. It
all.
takes
I
some
was
time
like,
to
I was like, this is a foreign language. Like, can someone just
yes,
break it down to me like I'm a 5-year-old? That is what I
exactly.
love. I'm like, keep it so simple so I don't have to like reinvent the wheel. I don't have to think about it. Just give me a tool that's easy. And I love that you are doing that you're teaching what you know and what is coming from your own experience. That's how I've always taught from day one. And I think there's a lot of pressure on social media, like you said, to get into a niche and just do your niche and whatever. So I love that you're not listening to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for just teaching from experience. Like we need more teachers out there who are just embodying and living what they teach and sharing it from their own playing with it and figuring it out what works. And that to me just resonates so much. And I love that you're doing that. And
Oh, thank
I
you.
cannot wait to see what you continue to build because it's beautiful to watch. I'll link everything. Hi, kitty. Oh my gosh, we have a black kitty just like that.
He likes to
We have
join
two
and
black
yeah.
kitties that look just like that. I'll put all the links here for everybody, but please go follow Andrea. I've loved this conversation. I knew I would, but thank you so much for just sharing your energy with us and all of your wisdom. It was amazing.
Thank you. And right back at you.
Thank you so much, everybody. And until next time, get out there and thrive.